Hello. Uh-oh.
I just,
There he is.
God damn.
You okay? Hello. Uh-oh. Gary's been having internet trouble and he's trying to connect with his phone. Are you there? Can
Hello.
you Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little broken up there and oddly
Yeah.
uh jerky, but here you are. Sorry about your internet problems.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me all about the first set, David, because I didn't hear a note of it.
He's Gary Lambert from somewhere in cyberspace or Queens, and I'm David Gans in Oakland, California, where the feed is pretty dang solid. So I will tell you, I just heard a really, really wonderful first set. They began with some somewhat surprising "Man Smart, Woman Smarter," which I was delighted to hear. A lovely shakedown street into cold rain and snow. They did Jack Straw, Brown Eyed Women. Dark Star into El Paso, which is a particularly amusing pair of songs for a 1972 vintage deadhead like me. And they ended the first set with Don't Ease Me In. And Gary, oh, there he's back now. That's good. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, but we are here. Do not blame Nugs for Gary's internet problems. It's his local provider. As you can see, Nugs has managed to deliver me in crystal clear full 3D or whatever this is. Anyway, Nugs is delivering a fantastic audio and video stream to our homes. And if you're watching this as part of the free preview of set two of Nugs, uh, uh, feed of Dead and Company, you're about to find out just how good the quality is. And we're here to tout that to you, to advise you to check it out because they really, really do great work. And they have a huge library. It's a live music based streaming and archive service that has vast amounts of music from jam bands and non jam band entertainers, including Bruce Springsteen and Wilco and Yes, and I forget who all else.
Yeah, can you hear me all right, David?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes is there too, as a matter of fact, on Nugs. But and here we go into the Who's on First routine again. But today I was actually just browsing around Nugs, and I found out they have a whole archive of recordings from the long run of Austin City Limits on PBS,
Oh,
and
wow.
I heard part of a terrific 1988 Buck Owens show, which is right around the time Buck made his big comeback when he hooked up with people like Dwight Yoakam and became sort of a hero to the new outlaw country kind of people.
Oh, that's
And there's all
fantastic.
and given the eclecticism of the selections on Austin City Limits over the years, it's not just country stuff; it's all over the map. So
I'm
that's worth
gonna go
checking
there
out
and
too
look
on
for.
Nugs.
I'm gonna go look for some Steve Goodman. I know he was on there a few times. He was one of my favorite singer-songwriters in the 70s and 80s. Thank you
Yeah.
for telling me about that. Austin City Limits is one of the audio archives available for streaming on nugs.net.
Yep. And so much more. They also have some official live album releases by some artists and some things that were
There's some Grateful Dead
rarities.
like that, right?
There's some Grateful Dead like that. They have. Um, I saw one recording by the Byrds live at Fillmore West, I think, in around '69. So post the David Crosby version of the Bird, post the Graham Parsons even, but latter day Birds. Um,
That was fun.
and yeah, it's worth exploring. So yeah, there's and I imagine some of the albums that they do have on there have maybe not been conventionally in print for a long time. So that's another way to rediscover music that's been dormant for a while. So yet another wonderful service from Nugs.net.
So please do visit Nugsnet. After you've looked at the first part of set two here, you'll in your free sample, you might want to go to Nugs and buy the whole thing so you can go back and watch the first set that you just missed. Or maybe you watch the first set sample and you're just kind of skimming these sample broadcasts to get a flavor for the thing. You can get the entire tour in audio formats later. We should probably move on to our interview though, since we have a limited time here.
And I have limited connectivity. So
Yes.
yeah. So I look forward to going back and watching the first set. Thanks to Nugs.net, to which I am a subscriber, I can go back and watch the first set that I just missed. I don't even need the free preview to be enticed. So, yeah, we have a wonderful interview for you. Why don't you set it up, David?
All right. Well, this guy is an old friend of ours, and he's a colleague of ours at Sirius XM as well. Rob Bleetstein is a giant deadhead. I've known him for 40 years, and he's also Mr. New Riders of the Purple Sage. And funnily enough, he's also big into Pearl Jam, and he programs the Pearl Jam channel for Sirius XM as well. I just know him as a really, really funny guy who's deeply committed to music. He helped create and maintain the category of Americana music out there in the mainstream of things. And we find him immensely entertaining, and we hope you will too. So let's pay a visit with Rob Bleetstein.
And we will see you, well, internet willing, we'll see you on Saturday night from Saratoga. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the show. And I hope everything is just exactly perfect by the next time I talk to you. Hit it, Rob. Hey, we always enjoy talking to this guy, a good friend, a colleague. Some of you may know him from the Grateful Dead channel, where he introduces many, many Grateful Dead concerts each and every day. He's also a longtime associate of the New Riders of the Purple Sage and a towering figure in the field of Americana music, which he helped bring into the world under that name. Welcome, Rob Bleetstein, okay?
Wait, you didn't even mention the fact that he's the ambassador from Planet 122977.
That's right. Or I call him the deacon of the Church of 122977.
That I can't deny. And howdy, guys. Great to be here.
Great to have you, man. Yeah. So, here we are in the year 2023, and this stuff is still going as strong as I can ever remember it, including way back in the day. So many people newly coming to this music, so many of us old geezers hanging on, and so many new people interpreting this music and artists loving this music and putting their own spin on it. Could you have ever imagined when you were a kid going to his first Grateful Dead shows that we'd be talking about this stuff 50 some years later?
No. I mean, I knew the music would always live on, especially with us, and tapes and bootlegs and all that stuff. But I would never have anticipated the level, almost 30 years after the original band is, not in its form, that it would be, ongoing and as prevalent for these future generations. And it's just it's an incredible thing to see. It's great. I love it. Yeah, and especially all the different forms of music that it's invaded. I don't know if "invaded" is the right word, but
oh, sure,
I love it, especially like that the electronic world is like embraced it. It's just crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the jazz avant-garde. Oops, sorry. It's usually Gans's phone that's going off. My turn. Let's talk about how many genres have come to embrace this music. How many bands could, I said to someone the other day, how many bands could have shared a stage with Willie Nelson and Ornette Coleman? With so many great blues artists, with so many great world music artists, Baba Olatunji, Hamza El-Din. And they all fit right in their own amazing way.
Yeah, and it's great that it fits in and it spawns out from what created the Grateful Dead, all the influences that the guys in the band grew up with and love and interpret, and that's spread out through that, and it's just bloomed into this crazy thing. And it's just so crazy that how it's, I think what really blows my mind is the socially acceptable level of it all. That's just like when I was just in Nashville recently and talking to some folks and met a fellow who's in the industry and a veteran of Phil Maurice shows and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, when I lived here, when I was 25 years old, there was maybe 3 deadheads who would really come out and say that they were, you know.
Yeah,
So
if you're looking to be a social pariah, the Grateful Dead scene just isn't the place anymore, is it?
yeah,
Yeah, it's not really an underground thing, but look, I mean, Robert Hunter sort of had a whole new career as a songwriter in his latter day collaboration with Jim Lauderdale, and that put him square in the middle of Nashville.
yeah. And I was happy, you know, Jim's an old friend, and he called me up one day and said, you know, can you help me find Robert Hunter? And I said, yeah. So I was happy to help out with that, and that just turned into a great thing for both those guys. It was great to see Hunter. You know, I know when Jim was making that record with Ralph Stanley, and I think he pitched that to him. I think that really put a big smile on Hunter's face.
Yeah.
I think it put a Grammy on his shelf too.
And another phenomenon I think we've noticed is that there's a lot of people that it turns out were Dead fans all along. It just wasn't really cool to admit it in the musical mainstream. And you know, it turns out there's the Dead have had fans in lots of different musical genres for all these years.
Yeah, especially, you know, I think once Branford came into the scene, and you know, the Ornette thing was wild, and I'm just grateful I'm old. The good thing about being old is because I'm grateful enough that I was able to catch some of that and alive at the certain period of time where I could do that.
Yeah, and you know, you are of course very immersed in the Americana world, and so many are. We mentioned Jim Lauderdale, his radio partner and pal Buddy Miller. You know, sort of emerged as someone who had been a Deadhead all along, was at some of the same shows at Fillmore East as I was. And then a younger generation of country people too. We had Tyler Childers sing with Bobby at the Ace 50th anniversary. Margot Price has become one of the family, which is very thrilling to I know both you and me, Rob. And you know, back when country rock was getting started, the country establishment had a deep disdain for hippies playing country. The Byrds had nightmare stories about, you know, going to Nashville to record Sweetheart of the Rodeo. But now it's so common. And in fact, Bob Weir and Robert Hunter were both honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award of the Americana Music Association. And if you look at the roster of people there alongside, it's just astonishing.
You know, the fact that apparently Bob Weir wrote some things with John Prine before John's passing, I can't wait for that to see the light of day, hopefully someday.
Yeah, and it turned out some of his recent songs he wrote with J.D. Souther. They did some on stage songwriting at the Guild Theater a couple weeks ago. It was fascinating to watch. And then I was listening to I asked Matt Bush, you know, for the co-author credits on one of the songs that Bobby's been doing for a while. She knows what I'm thinking, and it turns out that one's a Souther collaboration. So that's been going on for a while too. This whole Grateful Dead thing used to be a walled city separate from the rest of the universe, and now it isn't.
It's so mainstream. It's, you know, they always said the Grateful Dead. They always said it was nothing more American than the Grateful Dead, and it proved it right. You know, and you know, and I mean, and the branding. You know, I won't even go into that. You know, what my phone blows up with for, you know, constantly types of merchandise and just things you would never imagine that you'd be seeing Steal Your Faces on.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Well,
and then it's like, stop. I can't buy everything. There's no more room here.
Well, tell us a little bit of your own story, Rob, how you became a Deadhead, because you wrote liner notes for one of the Dave's Picks releases that told a particularly cool story. Let's hear about your own life.
I've gotten a chance to do 2 liner notes for Dave's Picks. Thank you very much, David Lemieux, for the Binghamton 11-677 and William and Mary 41578. I guess my deal is I sort of came in through the back door through the New Riders of the Purple Sage, actually, because through my good friend Hank Schechter and his older sisters Ruth and Nancy hanging out at their house. at like 10 and 11 years old, it was a lot of Grateful Dead and Allman Brothers and New Riders of the Purple Sage. And Power Glide was the first New Riders album, and the first time I ever heard a pedal steel guitar, which I didn't know what it was, but I found out and just knew I was going wherever that thing was taking me, because I never heard anything like it. And I was like, whatever that is, that's where I'm going. And then once I saw a picture of them and saw what long-haired, cowboy-looking, dope-smoking freaks they were, I was like, that's what I want to be.
And may I say, sir, you succeeded admirably.
Yes. They're great. They're great role models. Thank God I didn't become an alcoholic like all of them. No. God bless them all. But no, I was and then I was fortunate enough to wind up at Europe 72, I'd say, was my musical introduction to the Grateful Dead. Ramble on Rose was certainly the first song I ever latched onto and decided that I liked. And I had the fortunate opportunity to see them on the first day of 7th grade at the Nassau Coliseum in 1973, a month before my 12th birthday.
Wow.
So I didn't really, I was, I was getting prepared. I didn't really know what was going on, but I sort of was learning. And my biggest impressions of that thing that I can remember to this day were, one, the size of the PA. It was 73 pre-wall of sound, but it was rather impressive. I also remember Donna very much, because I didn't really realize that there was a female in the Grateful Dead. And I was like, oh, wow. And then the amount of people that were getting paraded by me getting arrested for smoking weed was something that will never leave my mind in my head either.
Yeah, Nassau was a major bustathon.
Yeah. And also there was a big rumor that the New Riders might open. So that was another thing that sort of got me there. And although getting me there was also, everybody was going, everybody's older brothers and sisters were going. My older brother went too. So it was just part of the deal. It was like, it was also like hey, I'm in junior high school now. You can't tell me I can't go to rock concerts. So that's part of that thing. And then they took their break. And when 76 came back, I sort of, I missed seeing them because I didn't know what a certified check was, and sent a personal check and got it back. It's like, you are not going to the Beacon.
Oh man.
It all turned out okay, because my first real shows that I consider were the 3 of the 5 at the Palladium in the spring of 77. And from that point on, it was, we got to do this wherever, whenever we can. I took my first to the LSD at Englishtown for the second set. And that was, like, I refer to that as my Woodstock, and just a great thing. And from there on, and then I started eating it like candy, and I went with a bunch of friends to see Muddy Waters. Oh, David Bromberg had Muddy Waters opening for him at CW Post in October of 77. And I'm taking a sugar cube that night, or liquid that night or something. And my friends are like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, it's going to be great. And it was great. And that, and then I had another great experience. My first sugar cube was at Binghamton. And that was my first full Grateful Dead concert under the influence of psychedelics. And that was gangbusters.
Okay, you've told us this. Now, how does that take you into a career path that leads you to where you are today?
Oh, okay. Well, I knew that music was my salvation and my only hope of living a breathing life. And I tried to play guitar in 8th grade, and it just was not happening in the least sense of the word. And, so being a musician was not, air guitar became an air pedal steel became my thing. And, but in high school, radio always had a huge effect on me. Growing up with WLIR and WNEW were, just monument. I couldn't be happy. It was a great time to be where I was for growing up with the progressive radio scene. So, and we had so many outlets for places for concerts and things happening, and great record stores and stuff like that. So I knew that radio was a big thing for me. I started my senior year in high school. I was volunteering at New York Tech's radio station, New York Tech University's radio station. And then as soon as I got into college and once I landed out of college after trying like 4 different ones, I started doing radio at KSJS in San Jose State and knew that it was from there. And also, so KFAT in Gilroy, California had a huge influence on me. Even when I was in a high school in New York, I was getting packages sent to me from Capitola, California that included Sensimilia and KFAT tapes. So things were good.
Wait, you went to San Jose State?
I sure did.
For how long?
Spartan.
That's
2 years, man. I have a degree in radio and TV, and look at me working in my field.
Wow. I dropped out from San Jose. I was I was a radio TV major at San Jose and dropped out in 72. So thank you for completing my course path.
now
I figured, if I didn't get that diploma, my mom would never rest in peace. So I just had to get it.
Right. Was San Jose State your introduction to the Bay Area the first time you came to California?
No, first time I came to California was on what they call a teen tour for kids from the East Coast whose parents had to get rid of them for the summer, but who couldn't stand camp anymore. So you're on this teen tour with 50 other kids and buses or vans camping in every national park and KOA across the country. So I remember, never forget this actually, because I'm 11 years old. It's the summer of 73. I've got a portable record player with me. I've got I've got New Riders records with me. And I remember, going to Fort Point, seeing the Golden Gate Bridge, but I will never forget driving down the hill into Sausalito and seeing this. And we spent the day in Sausalito, and I'm just going, this is where the record plant is. This is where they make those records. And then I remember the bus going through San Rafael, seeing San Rafael for the city limits San Rafael sign. And I'm going, oh my God, this is where they fucking live. I'm like, this is where I'm going to be. But my first real time out here in the summer of 77, I came out here with my dear departed friend, Malcolm Kaplan, in the summer of 77, just the two of us with a pocket full of traveler's checks and drugs. And I love it now because people are like, your parents let you go across the country by yourselves? So I'm like, it was a different world, It's just a different time.
A lot easier, and there were like student airfares that were cheap and all that stuff that kind of enticed us to come out.
And but my mom was a travel agent too. So it was
there you go.
It was all just taken care of, and
perfect.
But anyway, but one of the missions was, and so this was in July of 77. So we had spent all of June watching the Grateful Dead movie about, 8 times every weekend. We'd be going to the Grateful Dead movie at the mini cinema after the premiere at the Ziegfeld. And so we were obsessed with Winterland. So we go down to Winterland. I remember this woman on the bus told us, you better be careful. And we're like, we're scrawny little 15-year-olds who couldn't give a shit about anything. And we're banging on the door at Winterland. And finally somebody opened up and like, look, we just have to see the place. And they let us in. We walked around, took some pictures.
Wow.
Didn't see a show. And then like the following day, we took the ferry to Larkspur, the bus to San Rafael, and I walked into 1212 2nd Street, which was the New Riders office, which I was heavily communicating with. I was a psycho fan from New York who'd write them letters, and and that's when I met Mariska Green at the time. And they were like, I introduced myself and they're like, oh, we know who you are. You're the first check we always get whenever we have something new.
Oh, wow. Hey, we're running out of time. I'm sorry to say. We need to wind this down.
Well, there we go. There's the story. And it all came to bigger fruition with my first trip to Winterland in December of 77. And the aforementioned 1229-77, which is Dick's Picks 10, which everybody should already own.
Yes.
And I also want to tell people before we say goodbye to you that you went to the Winterland when they tore it down and rescued a couple of seats, which you have as a souvenir in your home. And I think that's extremely cool.
I tried to sit in them for this broadcast, but the arrangement just wasn't working out. I also just want to plug that I'm going to be DJing a Jerry Garcia dance party at Roots Rock Revival in the Catskills on August 1st, and that's an event that's run by Oteil Burbridge, and the North Mississippi All Stars will be there, and Trouble No One will be there. It's a bunch of jams and workshops, and everybody should check out rootsrockrevival.com.
I may have to come up to that, man.
Come hang out. Yeah, we're gonna spin some Jerry all night long.
All right, my friend. Hey, thank you,
you guys. Thank
you for joining us. Thank you for your service to the music, my friend.
And go get the Lyceum 72.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, you guys.